What is going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about Lucid. Go over some of the data points, break it down what's really moving it today, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So Lucid is up 3.56%, piggybacking off of the absolute euphoria in the broader market. 224 the low, 235 the high. So kind of interesting to see that it did have this dip that happened right here when the market was just like rocketing, but seems to have been short-lived for the most part. You're seeing rather low volume though, so 56.3 million shares being traded, 105 is the average. There was news coming out from Lucid, and that was this right here. So Lucid opens New Jersey studio service and delivery center for area customers. So good stuff. Definitely you see a lot of big expansion, and I remember covering Lucid way back when, and they had absolutely nothing. There were just a couple random dots on the map, and even like a fraction of that for Europe. So definitely good to see Lucid's expansion. It'd be nice if they kind of head a little bit more south and possibly a little bit more north, but it is what it is. They're heading where there's a lot of demand. One thing I do want to bring up that is rather, I wouldn't say as a negative, because I'm sure Lucid has their plans and kind of reasons for doing so, but one thing that I was very excited about was the UK. And so essentially that is a huge market, a lot of big money there. Of course, Lucid would have to reconfigure the vehicle for right-hand steering wheel and whatever else. But I did get confirmation from some individual. I asked them if I can kind of show their screenshot. They didn't get back to me yet, but it looks as though it was a email. So this individual did put a deposit for I guess an Air, and they do live in England. And unfortunately, I guess Lucid did respond saying that they have kind of canceled any plans to go to the UK, so that they're refunding the deposit. So it's I've spoken to this individual numerous times in the past. I don't feel that they would be lying. So if anyone else out there is from the general area and you did place a deposit, did you get a similar email? Because we do know that it was supposed to be second half of 2022, and then that got moved to pretty much radio silence. I think it was like late 2024. That's what the estimated plan is. And then we haven't heard anything. And I believe that was actually one of the potential questions that was going to be asked by retail, but Lucid kind of just completely omitted it. And so, yeah, I don't know. Some people might see it as a good thing. Some people might see it as a negative thing, but I'm sure Lucid does have their kind of reasons for not expanding to this area. But speaking of the UK, that's actually what really is causing the market to go higher today. So you did have the States and the UK come to their tariff deal. So that's a good thing. And hopefully, based on what Trump is stating, that there is more of these types of deals to be coming. The big ones is the EU as well as China, but it looks as though that's still kind of going back and forth with China. So I don't know if there's going to be that much progress for that. But looking at shorts, they are increasing 1.31 million shares. 29.15% of the free float is being shorted. Works out to be 359.14 million shares overall are being shorted. So another day that shorts are increasing, not to the same magnitude that they have over the last couple of trading days. So for instance, for those of you that are on Twitter, pop over there, give me a quick follow, because every single day I do post a lot of the kind of stocks I do generally cover on throughout my many YouTube channels I do have. Lucid shorts did increase 12.81 million shares yesterday. So they're still increasing today, but not to that same magnitude. So definitely something is, I don't know, hopefully they are peaked and they do start to kind of return and Lucid starts to kick ass and really move on forward, but we'll just have to kind of wait and see. But looking at the options, 679,000 in calls, 200,000 in puts. So rather low dollar value when it comes down to that, but 41% of all the options being done as a overall are bullish in nature. So that's kind of the majority. Pretty good to see. And there's a lot of big ones right here that clearly is not retail. So that's institutions kind of hedging their stuff, but like I said, kind of low dollar value. So 878,000 in total premiums today, 3.4 million yesterday, then 2.5 the day prior. So it is what it is. Maybe there's just some level of hesitation about this, or maybe they want further clarity on the whole tariff kind of scenario. But aside from that, though, based on the bulls, you are seeing a consensus for it to be above 250 and then 3 going into next week. Bears are still adamant that it is going to be sub $2. There was a couple of new analyst ratings. So one just posted today. So $2.30 hold, TD Cowen, which is kind of interesting. They didn't participate in that recent earnings, and nor did Stifel, Stifel did, Bank of America didn't, and Needham didn't. So only one analyst so far post earnings participated in the earnings and gave a rating. So Stifel gave a $3 hold, so that's kind of a good thing overall. And then aside from that, though, it's just a lot of bullish articles coming out about the Gravity still. So I think that's also hyping up some investors. But as of right now, though, with it at 234, it is still trading between this pivot and this S1. So 218 is going to be a strong support. Flip side, 241 is going to be the next strong target. And potentially that could be hit tomorrow, dependent on what the Fed speakers say. So tomorrow is going to be a fun-filled, packed day. So it is just pretty much 5 a.m. until 6 p.m. of pretty much Fed speakers, and a lot of them talking about monetary policy, tariffs, what that will impact the labor market, monetary policy, and obviously what that means for the foreseeable future. So that should cause a lot of volatility. So let me know your viewpoint on that in the comments below. But aside from that, though, it was able to fight back and get at that 50-day moving average. So on the actual chart, $2.34 is that 50-day moving average. So it's pretty much on that right now. So definitely needs to ideally close above that. Then that way it can go back to trading between that 150-day moving average, kind of between these 2 points. But we'll just have to kind of wait and see. So do you think that today's euphoria is justified, or do you think it is just kind of hyped up? One thing to take note of, though, is that a lot of stocks are getting very low volume. So I don't think big institutions are fully diving deep into this hype. So I think there is still a certain level of hesitation. I don't know if it's, again, because maybe they want ideally the EU or China as kind of the deals to come down the pipeline, or maybe they are afraid for tomorrow. So let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below. If you are looking for the absolute key highlights from Lucid's earnings, stay tuned. I'm going to play a quick kind of 5-minute video, goes over everything that you need to know, including just the kind of sentiment, everything, and whatever. So with all that, appreciate all of you watching. Don't forget to pop over to my Discord. It is completely free. A lot of good people talking about stocks, options, crypto. A lot of Lucid fans there as well, so definitely worthwhile to pop over there and take a look. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.
Lucid anticipates 20,000 vehicle production in 2025, bolstered by Gravity's debut. Earnings Call Insights Lucid Group, LCID, Q1 2025 Management View. Interim CEO 𝗪𝗓𝗧𝗛 highlighted record performance with 3,109 vehicle deliveries in Q1 2025, marking a 58% year-over-year increase. Production reached 2,212 vehicles, with 600 vehicles in transit to Saudi Arabia, to be counted in Q2. Lucid Air achieved recognition as the top-selling EV in its segment and third best-selling sedan overall in the U.S. Additionally, the Lucid Air was named Best Luxury Electric Car by U.S. News and Road Report for the 4th consecutive year. A special marketing campaign for the Lucid Gravity SUV generated significant interest, with over 3,000 showroom visitors and 11 million social media impressions. 𝗪𝗓𝗧𝗛 announced the appointment of 𝗖𝗢𝗡𝗘𝗖𝗧 as Senior Vice President of Marketing, bringing experience from Red Bull to enhance the company's branding and growth initiatives. CFO 𝗖𝗢𝗡𝗘𝗖𝗧 noted the closure of a $1.1 billion convertible senior note offering and the upsizing of a Saudi credit facility, extending liquidity runway into the second half of 2026. 𝗪𝗓𝗧𝗛 outlined the acquisition of Nikola assets, adding significant value through $17 million in cash and assumed leases, supporting Lucid's U.S. manufacturing capabilities. Outlook. Lucid reaffirmed its 2025 production guidance of approximately 20,000 vehicles, supported by the ramp of the Lucid Gravity SUV. Management emphasized ongoing efforts to mitigate supply chain and tariff challenges, including localization of battery material sourcing in the U.S. The company highlighted the anticipated start of production for mid-size platform vehicles in late 2026. Mark Winterhoff expressed optimism about further advancing technology partnerships, including a collaboration with King Abdullah University of Science and Technology, asked for AI and autonomous driving innovations. Financial results. Revenue for Q1 2025 was $235 million, reflecting a 36% year-over-year increase. Gross margin improved to negative 97.2% from negative 134.3% in Q1 2024, driven by regulatory credit revenue and cost discipline. Operating expenses included $251 million in R&D and $212 million in SG&A, with expectations for increased R&D spending later in the year due to mid-size platform investments. Adjusted EBITDA for Q1 was negative $563 million, a slight improvement from the prior quarter. Total liquidity stood at $5.76 billion as of quarter end. Q&A. Stephen Gengaro, 𝗖𝗧𝗧𝗧, asked about Gravity's order trajectory and test drive availability. Interim CEO Winterhoff noted strong demand for the Grand Touring trim, with Dream Edition nearly sold out. Test drives are being rolled out gradually. David Sunderland. Baird inquired about the cost partnership's impact. Winterhoff emphasized the cost-efficient access to resources for AI model training and materials simulation. Andres Shepard, Cantor Fitzgerald, asked about production split between Air and Gravity. Winterhoff stated that Gravity will contribute more significantly in the latter half of 2025, improving average selling prices. Adam Jonas, Morgan Stanley, queried Lucid's AI strategy. Winterhoff highlighted plans for hands-free driving features later in 2025 and ongoing discussions regarding autonomous technology partnerships. Sentiment analysis. Analysts expressed cautious optimism, focusing on production constraints and the potential impacts of regulatory changes. Questions reflected interest in managing supply chain and tariff-related challenges. Management maintained a confident tone during their prepared remarks, but displayed slight defensiveness when addressing production ramp challenges and regulatory risks. Winterhoff's emphasis on strategic flexibility and long-term growth signaled resilience. Quarter-over-quarter comparison. Vehicle deliveries increased sequentially from Q4 2024, reflecting operational momentum. Revenue rose alongside year-over-year margin improvements, supported by regulatory credit revenue. Management's tone highlighted more proactive cost transformation initiatives compared to the prior quarter, emphasizing operational discipline and strategic flexibility. Analysts maintained a consistent focus on production targets and strategic technology initiatives. Risks and concerns. Management identified ongoing regulatory challenges, including tariffs and their impact on gross margins. Efforts to localize supply chains were highlighted as a mitigation strategy. Analysts raised concerns about potential delays in the production ramp for the Lucid Gravity and the impact of supply constraints on delivery timelines. The global economic environment and evolving trade policies remain significant risks. Final takeaway. Lucid Group demonstrated strong operational performance in Q1 2025, achieving record deliveries and advancing its strategic initiatives. The ramp-up of the Lucid Gravity SUV and continued focus on technology leadership, including partnerships like Cost, underpin its growth outlook. Management's proactive approach to mitigating regulatory challenges and enhancing liquidity highlights the company's positioning to navigate uncertainties and scale efficiently.